So if I want the easiest, most repeatable swing possible, I just want to ride right up and down this plane line. The error I see most people do is they go too far inside of that plane line with the club, with the shaft and the club head. And then in with that, the shaft would get much too flat. If we look at good swings, we're going to use, Max Homa, the more I watch his swing, he's got one of the best swings in the world. I really, really love that. We're going to use as a model here. It's a great visual. You see his club head and shaft go right up the plane line during the takeaway. And then from there, the butt of the club is going to point on or inside the ball target line. I have a little mantra I want you to follow. It's really a two-part sequence. When I take my setup, I've got the tee in the butt of the club. The first part is we're going to say one to the leg. I want to get my hands in line with my trail thigh or trail leg and have the tee still pointing towards my body. That's position number one. And then number two, I'm going to say two to the toes, which means I want the shaft or the tee to point towards the toe line. Okay, so this is what I want you to feel. Let's do that again. One to the leg, tee towards me, two to the toes. All right, so I've been waiting probably literally 10 years to find a right wrist training aid that I would fall in love with. I have this precision impact training aid that I have been testing now for the past couple of months to make sure I like it. This right wrist training aid, I'm telling you, I've tried them all, is unbelievable. You put this on your right wrist and you'll notice when I make a backswing, it gives me some auditory feedback and I can set my right wrist about as far back as I can, and it locks that angle in. And it enables you to create the right wrist bend during the backswing, and also because of this little ball here, I can go up and down when I do it. It's absolutely freaking brilliant, and I've been using this a lot. It's gonna help your impact a ton. You go down below, you click the little link down there for Precision Pro, and you grab one of these. I'm telling you, you're gonna love it. There's a little coupon code in there. You get 20 bucks off. Keeping the right wrist bent back, okay, is the key. All right, guys, so getting your takeaway and backswing on plane is really one of the leading indicators of how good your golf swing is going to be from there on forward, and really how consistent and reliable your swing is going to be when you go out and play. Now, most people that I work with struggle with a takeaway that gets too far inside and a backswing that gets too far on plane. So in this video, I want to show you a pretty easy way that you can start to fix that, how you can practice that to get the swing started correctly, get the takeaway and backswing on plane to make your life easier moving forward. So I'm going to take my normal setup position. Now, for the sake of the feels here, you are going to need two things. Number one is I want you to put a club down your toe line. And number two is I'd like to take a tee and let's just put that in the butt of the club, and we're going to use that for reference. Now, before I show you how to use these things, let's just sort of go over what the roll backswing is. So typically the error in a takeaway that I see, well, in fact, you know what, let's show you the good first. So when we look at good ball strikers, if I took my setup and we drew a line right up the shaft at setup, what we're looking to do to make our life the easiest is have that club head basically just ride right up and down that plane. Right, if I can do that, I have nothing that I have to make up for. Now, if that's true, that means anything off of that, especially if I go too far inside, I'm going to need to do something to fix that later on, which of course you can do, but the question is, can you repeat that? Is that going to be easy for you to time when you go play? It's usually more difficult. That causes negative reactions. So if I want the easiest, most repeatable swing possible, I just want to ride right up and down this plane line. The error I see most people do is they go too far inside of that plane line with the club, with the shaft and the club head. And then in with that, the shaft would get much too flat. If we look at good swings, we're going to use, Max Homa, the more I watch his swing, he's got one of the best swings in the world. I really, really love that. We're going to use it as a model here. It's a great visual. You see his club head and shaft go right up the plane line during the takeaway. And then from there, the butt of the club is going to point on or inside the ball target line. So if you were to imagine this golf ball had a line here that went on forever. In fact, if I'd use this for that for a second, the butt of the club, after it goes right up the takeaway plane, should go right on or inside of that, okay? That's what we want to do to keep the club on plane. Now, what do we need to feel? How do we do that? What goes along with it? Now, I'm just hitting 8 irons here, but this would apply for all clubs. I have a little mantra I want you to follow. It's really a two-part sequence. When I take my setup, I've got the tee in the butt of the club. The first part is we're going to say one to the leg. And what one to the leg means is I want to get my hands in line with my trail thigh or trail leg and have the tee still pointing towards my body. That's position number one. And then number two, I'm going to say two to the toes, which means I want the shaft or the tee to point towards the toe line. Okay, so this is what I want you to feel. Let's do that again. 1 to the leg, tee towards me, 2 to the toes. Now, as I'm going 1 to the leg and 2 to the toes, let's go ahead and hit with those sensations. There's some details that are going to matter here. 1 to the leg, 2 to the toes. Now, if we look at sort of the good versus the bad version, if you're underplaying with this inside takeaway you want to get rid of, watch the butt of the club in the tee. The issue there is when I get to the time my hands are in line with my leg, look at where the tee or the butt of the club points. Already too far down the target line. In fact, for many of you, it'll point like at the golf ball or actually kind of out to right field at this point in time. Where it should be is it should still be pointed slightly towards me. The butt of the club should stay towards me versus towards the golf ball. And then from there, when I go towards me, right, I want to have it go towards my toes. Now, in reality, this is a little bit of an exaggerated motion here, right? If I use this stick for the ball target line, just to give you a little reference point, really anywhere between here is like a safe zone, right? In a real swing, if we can get this tee at me, at the leg, and then anywhere inside of that would still be good. But because you're at the ball and outside the line, you want to feel like it's at you, at the toe line. At you, at the toe line. Now, as I'm doing at me and at the toe line, a couple of details that are going to matter here. So normal setup position, do one more rehearsal. 1 to the leg with the tee towards me, 2 to the toes. 1 to the leg, 2 to the toes. Now, what that's going to help influence, if I make it more neutral going back, is going to be to make it more neutral coming down, right? If I have this rolling, flat, a lot of times across the line, I'm going to be steep early. I'm going to need to do a lot of things to fix that very steep downswing. If I can keep this right on plane, it's going to be easy to come right back on plane. If anything, if I get a little bit more vertical with the shaft, then that can help shallow out my downswing. Now, one key component as I do this, when I get to my toes from down the line with the shaft, you have to still have your hands work in. So let me explain what I mean there. 1 to the leg, 2 to the toe. So I go to my leg. Now as I point towards the toes, notice my hands still have gone in. If we were to draw a circle around them, they should be anywhere between, let's say, your trail pec or underneath your shoulder at about left arm parallel. What I don't want to see is 1 to the leg, down the toes, with the arm too far down out over the toe line. That doesn't solve it. See, the shaft is vertical, but my arms are too far out. We want the shaft to stay more vertical, but we still need depth, right? Look at the Max model there. See how his hands are still going in at that point in time in the swing. So it's 1 to the leg, 2 to the toes with the shaft, 1 to the leg, 2 to the toes. But see, even when I'm going here, I'm almost even feeling like the tee points inside the toe line because I still want to get depth here, right? Still want to get depth there. 1 to the leg, 2 to the toes, still getting depth on the way back. And from here, I'm just for now, just swinging down. No thoughts on the way down. 1 to the leg, 2 to the toes. So as I'm going 1 to the leg, 2 to the toes, we said, hey, caveat number 1, you still need to get some depth to the hands. The arms still need to go in as your body turns. Caveat number 2 is you still want to have a lead wrist that's pretty flat at that point in time. So the mantra that I would use here myself would almost turn into 1 to the leg, hands in line with the thigh, tee towards me. And from my point of view, the club head's basically right down the ball target line when I do that. 2 to the toes, hands are still in. And at that point in time, I want to start to, by about left arm parallel, I'd like to have that lead wrist flat. So I don't want to go 2 to the toes and have this cupped and open. I would like to have that flat. And if anything from there to the top, I'm going to keep flattening it. So it's like 1 to the leg, 2 to the toes, flat left wrist. 1 to the leg, 2 to the toes, flat left wrist. I'm still turning the whole time I'm doing that. 1 to the leg, 2 to the toes, flat left wrist. And that's going to help my downswing plane, be shallow, be on plane. I don't have to fix anything. Now, one little piece I do want you to be aware of, and a secondary kind of simple feel with this is, a lot of what controls where the shaft goes during the takeaway and backswing is the lead arm motion. So when you do this poorly, what happens is the shoulder goes high, the elbow goes away, and the tee goes away. So bad is shoulder high, elbow away, tee away. then the opposite of that would be good, which is the shoulder stays down, the elbow stays down towards the ground, and the tee stays down. So another simple feel you can get if that lead arm does control it is, I would like you even just to grab, you can just take your lead arm here and hold that, like hold your tricep here, hold the back of your lead arm, and feel your lead pec pressed in against your bicep here of your left arm. I want to feel like the shoulder goes down, the elbow goes down, and the tee goes down. And you can see how if I do that, there's no rolling during the backswing, right? That backswing stays on plane. If I do the bad version and this bicep gets farther away from my pec, shoulder goes high, elbow away, tee away, you see it? Look at all the distance between my left bicep and my pec there, all that space. I want to feel like that bicep stays pressed in against my pec. So the shoulder goes down, the elbow goes down, the tee goes down. See that? If I control that with my lead arm, that keeps me beautifully on point. So just a different way to accomplish the same thing. So I'm going to feel that left bicep pressed in against my pec a little bit. 1 to the leg, 2 to my toes. 1 to the leg, 2 to my toes. Let's do one more with that. And that lead arm, if you do that correctly, should feel very passive compared to normal. If you're used to going like this, you see a lot of action with that lead arm. This should feel very passive there early. So if you can control the lead arm motion, you can control the takeaway and backswing plane. The whole idea is if you can get the takeaway and backswing on plane, it's going to make your downswing a whole heck of a lot easier. You have nothing else to make up for it. And so referencing that toe line with the tee in, referencing some of those feels is going to really, really help fix that inside takeaway once and for all. If you still struggle with your takeaway after this video in your backswing plane, check out cogornogolf.com/free try. Still get your first lesson free. We can help you fix these things. If you're not able to do it with these drills, there's something else going on causing that. We have to see what that is. If you do have any questions about the takeaway or anything swing related, leave a comment down below. If you did enjoy this video, click that like button. Maybe consider sharing it with a friend. Click the subscribe, and we appreciate you guys watching.